Hi, this is Wilhelmina, and this story is called My Doll Blanket. I don't remember my childhood except for this one incident. You'd likely remember too if you'd been in my place on that stormy night. Enjoy. Big red rooming house on Church Street in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Each morning my mother brushed my long yellow hair and made it into neat braids that she wrapped around my head and tied on the top with ribbons. Each evening, Daddy coached me with my lessons. As far as I can remember, I was a model child, wise beyond my years, and I was the apple of my parents' eyes. One day, my mother said to me, "Daddy and I are going out tonight to visit Babe and Jerry, and we're going to leave you in charge. Do you think you can manage with the little ones by yourself?" Of course I could. My brother Terry was 4 and small enough that I could still make him do what I told him to. Kathy was the toddler, and the new baby was Gloria Jane. I often read the bedtime story to the little ones, and I knew how to keep Gloria's bottle warm in bed with me and give it to her when she woke up. "You can call Mary Chisholm if you need any help," Mom said. I said, "I won't call her. I won't be needing any help." Mary Chisholm lived in the front of the rooming house on the 3rd floor. She had 1 room. We lived in the back, and we had 2 rooms because there were so many of us. We had a day room downstairs on the main floor at the back of the house and a big bedroom above that. Outside of our bedroom door, a narrow set of stairs went down to the day room. The stairs had a bend at the bottom and walls closing in on both sides. The roomers in the front of the house each had a single room. If I wanted to go from our bedroom to Mary Chisholm's room, I went across the landing at the top of our little stairs, then into the back door of the bathroom, and out the front door of the bathroom, and then along the main hall of the 2nd floor, and then up another flight from there. Our family shared that bathroom with all the roomers. The roomers got water from the sink in there for cooking on their hot plates in their rooms and for washing their dishes in their rooms. And the working girls did the dry cleaning of their good clothes in the big white bathtub. I have no idea how they did this, but my mom has told me that they did. Mary Chisholm was a working girl, and usually when Mom and Dad went out, Mary came and sat with us. But sometimes another lady came, because all of the roomers were friendly with us. After Mom and Dad left, I mothered the little ones. I tucked them in and read them their story. I kissed them good night, and I turned out the light and crawled into the bed in the far corner with Kathy. Soon the babies were sleeping. But I was not sleeping. The room felt different than it did when Mary was sitting quietly in the chair under the light with her embroidery in her lap. The shadows in the corners were more black than when Mom and Dad were downstairs with Fibber McGee and Molly going on the radio. The scramblings in the walls were louder. It was a November night, and the first of the winter storms was howling in off the North Atlantic. Big blasts of wind made the old house creak and shudder. Rock-hard pellets of frozen snow beat against the window. Daddy hadn't got the storm windows on yet, and I could feel currents of cold air moving across my nose when each fierce gust struck the house. I couldn't get to sleep. The room was too dark. I got out of bed in my little flowered flannelette nightgown and my bare feet, and I padded across the cold linoleum floor to the light switch by the door, and I reached up and I turned it on. But I still couldn't get to sleep. The room was too bright. The light for the room came from a bulb that stuck out of the wall beside the window. There was no shade on the bulb. I got up again, and I took the little pink quilted doll blanket that Grammy Lloyd had made for me, and I pulled Mary's chair over under the light, and I climbed up, and I draped my doll blanket over the bare bulb. Then the room was neither too dark nor too bright, and I went to sleep. The next time I opened my eyes, a lazy column of brown smoke was drifting up from the top of my doll blanket. I climbed on the chair again, and I pulled the doll blanket down from the bulb, and I saw that a big hole had been eaten all the way through the middle of it. The hole was as big around as a teacup, and the brown edges of the hole were glowing with tiny red sparkles. So I lifted the heavy window up an inch or so, and I stuffed my doll blanket out through the crack and let it fall down into the bank of snow that was rising around the base of the house. Then I turned off the light and I went back to sleep. The next time I opened my eyes, the light was on again, and Mary Chisholm was standing in the doorway. "It's only me, Wilhelmina," she was saying. She was whispering, but I could hear her. "Don't be scared," she said. "There's some smoke in the house, and the firemen have come to find out what's wrong." I got out of bed, and I didn't notice that the floor was cold. I went over to Mary, and she knelt down and put her arm around me. "I've told them to be quiet in here," she said. I looked over at the little ones, but none of them was stirring. Then the fireman came in. I can almost remember that fireman. I think he had to turn sideways and bend his knees to fit through the bedroom door. I think his legs were as thick as the trunks of 2 walnut trees. There was a big shiny axe hanging from the belt around his thick black coat. I leaned back against Mary to look up at his face, but all I could see was a bushy black beard. I think the top of the fireman's hat was rubbing against the ceiling. Our bedroom ceiling was 9 feet high. "The smell is stronger back here," the fireman said. Mary said, "Shush, you'll wake the children." The fireman swiveled his giant head and looked around the room, and then he tilted his head down and he looked at me. He said, "Do you know where the smoke is coming from?" I think I can remember the fireman's eyes. There were no eyes in the eyes. 2 narrow beams of light were shooting out of empty sockets, like flames from a welder's torch. If you've seen the Raiders of the Lost Ark with Indiana Jones, then you know what those blue lights look like. People who get hit with those lights melt into candle wax. I said, "Smoke?" Then I began to shake from head to toe. My little flowered flannelette nightgown fluttered like an aspen tree in a summer breeze. I said, I... Mary Chisholm said, "You'll catch your death of cold out here in your bare feet, child. You run, get back into your bed." I ran. I jumped into my little bed in the corner, and I lay on my back beside Kathy, and I clenched my eyelids closed, and I lay there under the wool blankets like a little board, a little vibrating board. But my ears flared out like 2 satellite dishes, and they swiveled to track the sounds around the room. I heard bureaus scraping against the floor. Then a pair of heavy boots clattered up the back stairs, and the boots said in a loud voice, "It's all clear down below." Mary Chisholm said, "Shush, you'll wake the babies." The boots clumped out through the bathroom and joined with the other boots that were thumping through the front halls, thumping up and down the front stairs. I heard the muffled voices of the roomers talking on the front landings. I opened my eyes. The giant fireman was standing by the window. He was looking at me. I closed my eyes. I opened my eyes again. He was still looking at me. I closed my eyes. I rolled over against Kathy, curled up in a ball, pulled the blankets all the way up over my head, and I immediately slid away, down and down and down, into a deep and merciful sleep. The next time that I opened my eyes into that room, almost 50 years had passed, and I still had a nauseous feeling inside of me that I was reluctant to explore. I could remember my smoldering doll blanket, and I could remember Mary Chisholm and the fireman, but for the life of me, I could not remember whatever became of my doll blanket when the snowbanks melted in '49. This is the end of the story of my doll blanket, but my parents' names are Albert and Phyllis Hood. They're living now on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, and in their eyes, I am still an apple. If you should happen to be up that way to see the Butchart Gardens, and if you should happen to run into them, you won't say anything to them about my doll blanket, will you? Thanks. Regards, from Wilhelmina. Bye now.